Oh, okay, yes.
Well, there shouldn't be. I just asked questions, so this is. To the question.
Conservation. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for your patience. It is now 7:12. We're going to call the open board meeting to order. Okay, may I get all.
Present.
Oh, the hearing first. I apologize. Okay. I apologize. So we will turn the meeting over to Dr. Singleton for the tax. Oh, okay. Help me out, John. Help me out. Okay. That was the point.
I said present.
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 Yes.
All right.
Approval of the.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
I have a second? Second. Second, then the agenda, are there any questions?
Yes, so we approving the regular agenda or
Tax rate.
For the tax.
just for the tax rate? It's separate.
There's two
Okay.
separate hearings, so you should have a meeting notice
Oh,
for
I
the
need to
tax
go to
rate
that.
only. They have to be two separate meetings.
That was my question.
I need to get all in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposers? Benches?
Thank you. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. Tonight, we will hold our 23-24 tax rate hearing for the purposes of discussing potential or proposed tax rates for the 23-24 school year. We have met the requirements in terms of publication of the notification for this hearing. We did get some calls, obviously, on last week or the week before, and to my understanding, I don't think we have any participants to make any public comments on tonight. So I will go forth with the information for the SAB presentation for the tax rate hearing. If you'll go to the second slide. The second slide shares information about the tax rate hearing. So the Special Administrative Board of the Riverview Gardens School District is a political subdivision. A political subdivision obviously is entitled to authorize and set tax levies. These levies are set on an annual basis. So the rates from last year are not automatic. We have to have an annual tax levy hearing, and this must be done prior to October the 1st of every year. And it's not final or official until it's been approved or submitted to the state auditor for certification. And so We still have until October the 1st to get the information before the state auditor for certification. Next slide shares additional information about the basic components of the tax levy. The tax levy looks at the prior year revenues plus the allowance for CPI growth. And right now CPI is running between 3% and 4%. We also look at current year assessed valuation plus any allowances for new construction. And all of these things go into the tax rates, and also our debt service fund requirements. School boards and other entities have to be able to levy enough money to pay off any outstanding bonds that come due within that taxing year as well. So those are some of the basic components we'll talk about tonight. Next slide. There is a maximum authorized levy, okay? And when I say that, the school district or any other political subdivision, we're not allowed to just go to the tax levy and levy what we want to levy, okay? We can't levy enough money to take care of all of our needs, all right? And so in 1984, there's a maximum authorized levy that was established, or in any case, if there is a most recent voter approved rate, maybe we went out for a referendum and to increase the maximized authorized levy. In any case, a district can voluntarily roll back the tax rates, okay? And we have done that before because in 2018, we made a promise for Proposition R. Prop R was a no tax rate increase bond issue, and we have held our levy consistent and actually rolled back the rate in our debt service levy to keep it constant at what we approved or what we promised the voters that we would do in 2018. On the next slide, we'll talk about the calculations. Many of you who look at your tax bill, obviously, there's a residential component, all right? Residential taxes in this boundary, in these school districts, they go to fund, obviously, our educational needs of the school district. We also have agriculture, which we know is very small in this school district. And we have a few commercial businesses that also pay on the commercial side. What really helps us are personal property taxes as well. The district gets a huge amount of money for personal property taxes as well. And then the state requires us for reporting purposes only to establish what we call a blended rate, okay? And the blended rate just looks at all of those classifications and it averages those rates and it gives you one rate, and that's only for state reporting purposes. The next slide is really the information that is pertinent to our school district. And so the first column going down talks about the different classifications I just mentioned. Where do we get our monies from? Well, we get money from residential taxes, agricultural, commercial, personal property, and there's a total. So if we look at 2022, the prior year, and we go across, we can see the amounts of monies where our assessed valuation lies. So for instance, in 2022, on the residential side, we had about $163 million in residential assessments, $11,710 agriculture, again, very, very small agricultural base, and also in the commercial side, over $32 million. Personal property taxes, again, $53 million. And so last year, our assessed valuation was about $250 million and some change. For the current year, and this is great news for all taxing entities, is that we have seen a significant increase in assessed valuations in our own personal homes, in the homes of our scholars and families in the school district. So as you can see, there's a huge jump in residential assessments. So we saw a $66 million increase. So over 40% increase in assessed valuations on the residential side, all right? Agricultural remained relatively flat. Commercial, we saw a 22% increase as well. And then personal property tax, while it's a huge number, we saw very slight changes of about 3.4% on the personal property side. Overall, we're looking at an increase in assessed valuation over last year of more than 30%. And I get excited because that means that our families are living in homes that have more value than they did before. And that's where people want to live. People want to live in communities. Thank you very much. People want to live in communities where their values of their homes are going up. Okay. And so that's really exciting news to know that overall we've seen a 30% increase in our assessments. If we go to the next slide, and again, I share all that information, and also we talk about the rate ceilings. Okay, once again, I mentioned earlier that we just can't levy our way through the school district. Okay, we can't just go to the taxing entities and say, give us all the monies we need to operate. There are other sources, but we get a pretty substantial amount of monies from the tax levy. So there are rate ceilings. So on the residential side and commercial side, we see the rate ceilings 5.7955 and $6 on the commercial side. On the operating side, again, on the residential rates this year, we are lowering our residential rates. Okay, and that's good news as well. Now, the district is still going to capture the same revenues, but we're going to do it at a lower rate because of that significant increase or rise in assessed valuation. And you'll see the residential and commercial rates are going to be slightly different from last year. In the debt service levy, we see $1.77. And again, $1.13 will get us to what we need on the debt service side. And so our total levy ceilings on the residential side, $7.57. Again, that does include debt services. And also on the commercial side of $7.13 or 7.1392. If we go to the next page, again, we talk about the blended rate. Again, for state reporting purposes, we are required to establish a blending rate. And so on the operating side, our blended rate is about $4.7383. Debt services, as I mentioned, will go down to $1.13 or 1.1392. And so that total blended rate, including debt service, will give us about $5.8775. Okay, that is the amount on the blended rate. And if we go to the next page, again, just some information that's good for us all to operate. When we talk about the tax levy, because the district has reached its maximum authorized rate, we really don't have an opportunity to increase the tax rate to generate additional revenues. This is the prime example this year of what we call the Hancock Amendment. We've heard about it time and time again, but the Hancock Amendment itself limits the amount of additional monies that you can capture through the tax levy, okay? And so districts like ours are saying we're Hancock this year, okay? And so this is the year that the Hancock Amendment came into place, which limited the amounts of monies that we could collect through the tax levy. Prop E was a huge success in April of 2021. We went to the voters. We did increase the tax rates. And again, we're at our maximum capacity. $4 million or more in operating revenues additionally came into our coffers. And so we really appreciate, and we're doing those things that we promised as a result of Prop E. In the very near future, and we've talked as a board, we've also talked as an administrative team, there is a strong possibility, a very strong possibility for the district to seek another no tax rate increase bond issue. And we're going to be bringing that information forward very, very soon for the board to consider. Our school district has reduced our residential and commercial rates from $5.7955 and $6 accordingly to $4.4292 and $5.0896 to combat the significant rise in assessed valuations. I think preliminarily, the old rates went out. And so we did get a few calls from residents But certainly, after tonight's evaluation, we certainly want our residents and constituents to know that our residential and commercial rates will go down to capture the increase in assessed valuation. The next slide, again, just talks about the tax revenues that we're going to anticipate receiving. So if history prevails and we do the things that we've done in the past and our collections look like they have in the past, we're looking at possibly getting a total of over $19 million, close to $20 million through the tax levy. And all of this is just really estimated at this point. Obviously depends on how soon and when our residents pay their tax bills. So the next slide is probably one of the most important slides because it deals with the tax levies that we are recommending. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So here are the recommended rates, and we look at 2022 levy and we look at the 2023 levy. And so if we look at that first line under residential in 2022, we see that it was 5.7955. In 2023, we're proposing 4.4292, which is a decrease of about $1.36. Okay. Under the agricultural side, again, it's relatively flat. But again, on the commercial side, we're also going to show a decrease as well of about 77 cents on that rate. Our personal property rate will remain flat. And again, our blended rate, for state reporting purposes, will be what we asked at the $5 and 5.8775, which is the rate for blended. If we go to the next slide, please. The next slide, again, just shows kind of the assessed valuation, what we've gone over, the adjusted levy amounts, and kind of a rough estimate of the amounts of monies that we should receive per classification. So if we're fortunate, which I know we will be, then we should receive about $12.8 million on the residential side. On the commercial side, $2.4 million. Very small numbers, $800 on the agricultural side. And then on the personal property side, $3.8 million for a total of about $19 million. And so, again, our tax levy is our second highest contributor of revenues, if you will. Of course, state aid remains by far the most, where we receive the most amount of monies for the school district. Okay. And the very last slide. So again, tonight, we're asking the board to approve those tax rates or consider approving them. I think there's a special meeting on tomorrow for those purposes. And also approve the blended rates. I think all of that information is there in the motion. And at the time of presentation, we were thinking that it would be done on tonight. But if it's done on tomorrow, we're still meeting the October the 1st deadline. So at this particular point in time, that concludes my presentation on the tax rate hearing. And I'll open it up if there's any questions at this time.
Board members, do we have any questions?
I do. $19 million, that is the projected tax levied amount. How does that compare with current year?
It's roughly the same. And so we had to adjust the rates downward so that we could get the same amounts of revenue. So we roughly got, this year, we were basically looking at about 18.9 million. So right at 19 million, we're thinking that we're going to get the same 19 million. So the collections are going to be almost the same as they were in the current year. Yep. We're handcuffed, so we're limited. We can't, we wish we could get that additional monies, but that's the purpose of the Hancock Amendment by statute, is to limit the amounts of money. That growth, we can't capture the additional revenues by way of that growth.
Question? I have a motion, approve the tax rate by classification of property and to approve the blended tax rate.
Make the motion.
I'm sorry.
So you're making a motion to go on and do it tonight?
Yes,
Okay, I just want to make sure I was.
yes.
Okay.
I agree. Second.
To make the motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve the tax levy rate night. Nice meeting.
On Delane, may I have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay, it's been second. This work. Are there any questions? Further discussion? I believe we should do a roll call vote. So Shay, would you do a roll call vote? Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
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 Yes. Has been recommended, approved, to approve the tax rate classification of property, approve the blended tax rate, so we do not have to. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jesus. Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
Been motioned by Dr. Yvonne Elliott. May I have a second? Second. Been second by Aquilin Jackson that we adjourn this meeting. Any questions, discussion? Roll call vote, Shay.
Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. We are adjourned. It is now 7:32. We'll move into our open session board meeting for September 26th of 2023. May I have a roll call vote, Shay, to establish a quorum?
Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
Present.
Present, I'm sorry, yes.
Present?
Here.
Here. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Motion from Dr. Yvonne Elliott. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Tisworth. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll now go to patron participation. Thank you. Then go to Riverview Garden Excellence.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board members, Superintendent Pruitt Adams, colleagues, and community. Today, first, I would like to, I'm gonna go a little bit out of order, but I would like for Mr. Etoya Dickerson to stand or to come up.
All right.
So Mr. Dickerson is a home to school coordinator at Westview Middle School. And the second week of the school year, Mr. Dickerson noticed a scholar who was choking in the lunchroom. Mr. Dickerson jumped into quick action. He approached the scholar, performed the Heimlich maneuver, was able to dislodge the food that was caught in the scholar's throat and potentially save that scholar's life. And so we just wanted to recognize Mr. Dickerson with the Riverview Excellence Award here at the board meeting. And so, Mr. Dixon, did you have any comments or want to share anything else?
I would just like to say thank you. I am grateful for the award and the acknowledgement that Riverview Gardens is sharing with me today. It is validated. Our quick story, at the end of the school year last year, I was not sure of my return. I was exhausted. And God, the universe, can we mention that? God
Yes.
has a way of validating your decisions, and I don't want to get choked up, but that baby needed me to be where I was at that time.
Don't make me shout at you.
And she's sticking to me like glue. Whenever I come to school, she does a beeline to me. and we do our little high fives and we laugh and we continue. And it's just, I'm grateful for Dr. Patton, who I've had many conversations with. And she encouraged me, hey, we need you back. And so I made the decision to come back at the last minute, and I am thankful that I did. And thank everyone here at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to, we can get on.
Yes. Congratulations. That's my friend.
Over there. Good for you.
All right, and secondly, if we can have Miss Tracy Nave approach.
That look on her face.
Told you, my yakking brand new.
Get back up.
So, Mrs. Tracy Nave is the principal at Riverview Gardens High School, of course. And as we all know, on September 11, we had some unfortunate incidents, the 12th, the 12th, my bad. September 12th. We had an unfortunate situation at the high school, where some fights broke out. And so we wanted to recognize Mrs. Nave and really the entire Riverview Gardens High School staff, but honor them through Mrs. Nave just for the way that they handled that situation, because it was a bad situation. It was a dangerous situation, but the way that Mrs. Nave and her team handled it, both during the situation to maintain safety, afterwards by having parent meetings with select parents, and also having an assembly for scholars when they came back to school. And I will tell you that Mrs. Nave was very nice, but very firm, and that these type of things will not happen in Riverview Gardens School District, and they do not represent Riverview Gardens School District. So on behalf of you and your staff, Mrs. Nave, we just wanted to recognize you with the Riverview Excellence Award. That's your T-shirt. Would you like to speak?
Give it up. But let me tell you, to God be all the glory.
Okay.
Yeah, because September 12th could have been something even worse than what it was.
Yeah.
I've been at the high school since 2002, and it is beyond anything that I've ever seen, but God. And I'm sorry for saying the but God. Okay. So what I have talked to my scholars about, and I thank you, Board Member Jackson, for coming out to one of our parent meetings. We're protecting our house. I don't care what's going on in the community. When we come to Riverview Gardens High School, 1218 Shepley, we're protecting our house. It's a neutral territory. There's no Castle Point, there's no Glasgow, there's no Dalewood. We are Riverview Gardens High School Rams. And it's been just great because the scholars are saying, we don't do that. Ms. Name said we don't do that. Now, I'm not gonna say that there's not gonna be something else. But please know that our scholars are ready to be taught, they're ready to learn, they're ready for a safe place. And that's what we are here. I want to thank everyone, the district leaders who came, the building leaders who came to our aid to support, the students who emailed me saying that they supported me canceling their dance for safety. And that's a lot for a student to email you and say, I know we wanted that dance, but we want to thank you for keeping us safe. I want to thank our safety team. I have Officer Jones, Newton, Officer Hawkins out here. I want to thank them because without them, without our team, I could not do this. But I thank everyone for their support and just know that we're on the way up. That does not represent Riverview Gardens High School. That is not who we are.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
And thank you. And lastly, in terms of review excellence, we did want to acknowledge the Apple for the Teacher awardees. And so, first of all, Mrs. Tracy Nave, Apple for the Teacher awardee as well. Dr. Tanya Patton is an Apple for the Teacher awardee. Miss Juanita Shaw, last year's Teacher of the Year for the district, is Apple for the Teacher awardee. Miss Patty Madonna is a Apple for the Teacher awardee. And Miss Laura Erickson is an Apple for the Teacher awardee. And so Riverview Gardens will have 5 awardees at the Apple for the Teacher. That's more than any other school district. So congratulations.
Yes.
That concludes my Riverview Excellence.
All right. We would then now move to announcements. Board members have announcements. Well, I do have an announcement. About a week ago, I attended the SS, and I know you guys probably tired of me harping on this, but I'm not gonna let it go. I went to the SSD PAC, it's the parents' organization. They had a phenomenal meeting. So I'm going to just admonish us, and I did bring the booklet for the PAC representatives that we're going to eventually have, and we need 5. And they have some phenomenal things that they're going to be doing to support parents and even supporting parents with students that have transitioned out of high school. So I really encourage you, if you know that you have students in your buildings that are receiving services from SSD, and I state they're Riverview Gardens students, they just received services from SSD. Please submit those names to me so that I can turn them in, so that our parents can receive the same benefits other school districts are having and are receiving through special school districts. So my announcement. Okay.
There is a social justice event, New Sunny Mount, on Thursday at 6 o'clock. The event, if you go to Eventbrite, is called I Fear for My Life. It's 400-year commission that's hosting it, and some agencies that's collaborating is Urban League, but it's called I Fear for My Life, and it's at 6 o'clock on Thursday, New Sunny Mount.
Thank you.
Where's New Sunny Mount?
West Florissant, close to 70.
70. Any other announcements? Would then go to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. I have a list, so just giving you fair warning. First of all, I want to introduce a new member to the executive cabinet team, Mr. Carl Schein. Carl serves as the executive director for facilities and food service. It comes with 20+ years in facilities work and also with service. So just wanted to welcome. He's been with us this second week now. So welcome. Just a couple of announcements put on your radar. Last week, several of us had the opportunity to attend the Bell Fountain Neighbors Town Hall. I want to thank those who came out to support us and to thank our own Ms. Lane for giving the district report. Also, was it this week or last week? Blur, Ishmael, this is Tuesday. Last week, Mr. Sistrunk and I had the opportunity to do a live interview for AM Radio Jubilee 690. They aired it that day. They're gonna air it again, but I had the opportunity to talk about the vision for Riverview Gardens School District, all the good things that are happening, our initiatives and so forth. And the host has indicated whatever we do, we just call him and he'll make sure that the announcements get played on the air. Also, this Thursday from 6 to 8, we will be hosting our Boeing celebration. It'll be held at the high school library. As it was indicated earlier in the year, Boeing is investing over $900,000 in grants to support STEM and aerospace technology at our school district. Also, this Saturday, our board will take part in its first work session with MSBA that will be held here from 9 to 12. And we will discuss assessments, team dynamics, focusing on developing norms and coaching. Also, just a reminder that food distribution is back. Our next food distribution is October 5th from 9 to 11, and that will be at Westview Middle School. And we need parents to come out for those of you who are listening. We didn't have a large turnout last time, but we want to make sure that people come out and get the food. Also, as you know, back last spring, Dr. Singleton mentioned that 2 of our community representatives had asked the governor to include $13 million for facilities. As you know, the governor vetoed that. However, last week we received a call that someone had called on behalf of the district, and the governor has asked for an audience with myself and Dr. Singleton to talk about the needs of our school district. I did have a conversation while Dr. Singleton was at the conference, so I haven't had this conversation with him yet, but I got a call from the commissioner who was aware that we were going to talk to the governor and is really supporting us in that dialogue, particularly around school safety and our facilities. Also on October the 17th, Ms. Maura Real, Dr. Patton and I will go back to Jefferson City, and we will make our quarterly presentation to the state board. We will be discussing our new CSIP plan, and we will also share with them our data, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it, and what we're doing to address the data. And the board will receive a copy of the presentation. By special request, they have asked that the commercial that our own Ms. Tracy Nave is featured in also be played at the conclusion of our presentation. I don't think she knew that. Our next SAB workshop after this one is October the 17th. That's a very busy day. Also, this is gala season. And so the Little Bit Foundation is hosting their annual Join the Journey Gala. Say that fast time. It is October the 20th. Dr. Coleman attended with us last year. There are 3 seats available for board members. If anyone is interested, please let Mr. Sistrunk know. Also, Soul Fisher's Gala is their 10th anniversary gala. It's an all-white gala. Let me go back. The Little Bit Foundation's gala will be held at the Chase Park Plaza. The Soul Fisher Gala, which is October the 17th, the following week, will be held at the Ritz-Carlton. It's their 10th anniversary. Our Gentlemen of Vision will be stepping in all white, and there are seats as well for our board. So let Mr. Sistrunk know. We will be closed October 30th for our fall break that was built into the district calendar. And just a reminder that we are rolling out our CSIP. At the next board meeting, we'll present the CSIP rollout to you, but we will do our first quarterly update at the October 24th board meeting. And what we've decided to do, whether throwing it all at you at one time, we're going to chunk it. So on the 24th, we will present the attendance and the collaborative culture. That concludes my announcement. And we hope to have at the October meeting our board student reps. That concludes my announcements. And now we're going to information. Our first item for information is the KMOV advertising update. Making this presentation is Mr. Sistrunk. It is in compliance with CSIP's goal, staffing and workforce, and also a board policy GCD and GCD1. Sistrunk?
Good evening again. As you may recall, we came to the board in July, asking for an extension for our KMOV update. We ran an advertising campaign with them from April through the end of May last year, but we did not get to use all the funds just because the way that the budget and the school year ended. So the board, we thank you. You were gracious enough to grant us an extension to use those funds in August, July and August. And so we just want to bring the results from that. A couple things to remember as I go through this. So in terms of analytics, you'll see the term user. What that really means is a unique visitor to the website. So essentially every time a person visits the website, you'll also see sessions, and that's how many visits that the website receives. But during the campaign, the second part of the campaign, which ran from July 24th through August 31st, on the district website, you see there was a 216, almost 217% increase in the users. So a 216% increase in visitors to the website. There was a 212.3 increase in sessions, so visits to the website, 210% increase in engaged sessions. What that is how many times a person engages, clicks on something when they visit the website, not just visiting. A 10% lift in average engagement time, so how much time they spent on the website, and 240% increase in actions or events on the website. That's compared to that month before the advertising ran. During the campaign, also on the jobs page, this was really the big eye opener. There was a 7,432 or 33% increase in sessions, so in visits to the website, 8,600 or 86,000 or 8,600% increase in visitors to the website, and 158.6% in average engagement time. To translate that into real numbers, what we were looking at was before the advertising campaign ran, we had 146 people that visited our jobs website. So people who came to the site, went to the jobs page. During the KMOV sessions, we had 11,000 people that visited the jobs page. And so that was a direct result of email blasts that we did, the commercials that ran, social media ads that we ran. So all the ads really directed people to our job site. And that was the increase, 146 versus 11,000. So we know that it was effective in letting people know that we had jobs available and drawing them to our page. Targeted display campaign that had 478,993 impressions. A targeted display are basically like pop-up ads or ads that you see when you're on websites. Premium OTT campaign, what that is streaming television. So if people watch television on Hulu or not Netflix, but apps like Netflix, YouTube TV, we got over 45,000 views through those. If you can go to the next page, please. Paid search. So what paid search is when people search certain terms on Google. They search education, teacher, hiring. Riverview Gardens will come up. So we got 13,000 impressions, 1,200 clicks. And again, those clicks went to our jobs page. So people went directly there. Interstitial ads or mobile ads. If you go to an app and you have an ad pop up that takes up the whole screen, that's the interstitial. We had 101,000 impressions there, over 1,300 clicks. The paid social campaign, those were Facebook advertisements. And so 167,000 impressions. Impressions is how many times a person sees the ad. And so when you see the frequency of 2.73, that means that 60,000 people saw the average of 2.73 times. and targeted emails. We did that before the last career fair. It went over to 300,000 email addresses. They got 49,000 opens, 7,000 clicks. And the open rate was 16.45, the click-through rate 2.38. So what does that all amount to? If you look at the top of those pages, you'll see when we started the campaign, the second campaign, we counted 128 non-certified positions that were vacant. By the time we ended the campaign, we had 26 vacant non-certified positions. And so that's a decrease of 80% of vacancies that were filled. When it comes to certified, we had 114 at the beginning of the campaign, moved that down to 81. That's a 29% decrease in those job vacancies. And so we do believe that the CAMOV campaign was effective. We know that it got the word out, that it let people know that there are positions in Riverview Gardens. And also, I did look at applications received during that period. So the period before we ran the campaign, we had 242 applications received. After, we had 314. That's a 30% increase. And then I asked Mr. Ford to look back at last year during that same time just to see, and that period last year, we had 212. So that's a 49% increase over what we had last year. So we do believe that it was effective. We are going to be working to bring forth a comprehensive advertising proposal, because we feel like if we did that with just Channel 4, we're going to go back to Channel 5 to get a quote. We've talked to Fox 2. We're going to talk to the St. Louis American. We're going to talk to some billboards. Dr. Prudhomme mentioned we were on the radio, or she was on the radio last week. So we'll approach some radio stations and really come with a comprehensive advertising package. But I can't speak for Mr. Ford, but I think that we were pleased with the results. Now, I'm not going to say it's all advertising. We do have a full-time recruiter. I think HR is staffed as well as it's been in a while. Mr. Ford's come in working hard. Our recruiting team is working hard, going to job fairs and things like that. So it's not just the ads, but it's the ads plus the work. And so we just wanted to share that information with the board. Are there any questions?
Certified jobs mean
Yes. So, and some of those, even though those certified positions are vacant, you know, a lot of those we have teachers in, we have long-term subs in, but there's still those certified vacancies there. Thank you.
Our next item is the College and Career Readiness Program Evaluation. Making this presentation is Ms. Khadija Tejad, who is our College and Career Coordinator, and this is in compliance with CSIP's IM as well as CSIP's College and Career Readiness Goal.
I'll wait to go.
And this item says it's for discussion, but it's under information. Do you want it as discussion or information? Information.
All right. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. JPA, colleagues, and community. I'm here to give the program evaluation for the College and Career Readiness piece of the district. There you go. Next slide, please. All right, so a few of the staffing changes and things that have been made. We have reinstated the college and career position to assist in the rebuilding of the college and career culture that was lost due to the pandemic. We increased the number of opportunities that our scholars had to complete a post-secondary assessment. So the ACT, ASVAB, and WorkKeys in school. Typically in the past, it's been they had to go, on a weekend or to a military station to take those examinations. We brought those in school last year. We also reestablished the Riverview Gardens High School Post-Secondary Leadership Team. This group is a structured system of support that fosters a strong college-going culture and improves scholar post-secondary outcomes. So basically what we do is we meet a minimum of once a month to kind of review the data for each grade level and put in place strategies and resources to assist students in their post-secondary goals and opportunities. I mean, it also gives us a chance to really communicate about, oh, hey, this scholar would be really good for this opportunity, or hey, have you considered this opportunity? So it's a great way to collaborate and make sure that all of our students are being served efficiently and effectively. We also last year increased the number of middle school and elementary school scholars who were able to participate in field trips and immersive experiences. So to our point, our collaboration about Boeing last year came to 3 of our elementary schools, and not only did they help students build rockets, but then they also talked to them about careers in engineering, specifically aeronautical engineering. And then at the end, they got to shoot them off. It was really great. We also had Careers on Wheels, where we had the mayor of Bell Fountain come in and talk about different jobs, especially in government. And then also our middle school scholars were able to take a field trip to the Eagleson courthouse downtown, where they learned about various careers in our criminal justice system. We also implemented a new college and career tracker that tracks each scholar, their post-secondary goals, and other activities that support their positive post-secondary outcomes. Next slide, please. So in line kind of with our, so college and career readiness remains a priority of the district and was included in our updated CSIP plan. A few of our goals for this year: 75% of our graduating seniors should be completing a qualifying post-secondary assessment. So ACT, SAT, ASVAB, work keys, AP examinations, or the Accuplacer. We'll be measuring that by our academic data, as well as by the reports that are given to us by those institutions that administer the exams. Also, by June 2024, we hope to increase the number of dual credit and dual enrollment opportunities available to our students as measured by the agreements with our partner colleges and universities and nonprofits. Currently, right now, the board approved the dual enrollment program with St. Louis Community College in August. And so we have 7 scholars there. And then we're hoping to increase those numbers of partnerships for our students. We're also hoping by June 2024 to increase the number of graduating students that have college and career technical credits, industry recognized credentials, and also stackable credentials by 10%. We have a really great partnership with North Tech, and we hope to increase the number of students that take advantage of that partnership that we have. And then finally, and our last goal is that we hope to increase the college and career exposure experiences for our students in K through 8 as measured by the number of field trips, university partnerships, and community relationships. As we hear a lot, we have a lot of people who want to invest in our district and give opportunities to our students. And so we want to capitalize on that and make sure that our students have those experiences as much as possible. Next slide, please. So how we're going to measure success. So this year or last year, we implemented a college and career tracker. And so it has this kind of, you can't really see all of the slides on here, but each tab has one from 9 through 12, where we figure out, okay, where do students want to go? What have they done? So have you filled out the FAFSA? Do we have your ICAP? Have you taken the ACT? Have you taken the ASVAB? What are you interested in? And so it is a targeted approach from all grade levels, from the counselors, the principals, the assistant principals, myself, to make sure that we are effectively serving our students. Also, we want to make sure that not all the students, not one student's getting all the attention from one adult. So that's why we have this tracker, and those positions that I mentioned earlier have access to this and can edit it as needed and as necessary. And also it gives us an opportunity to track our miss-it points as well. So whenever we have a new ACT round of ACT scores, oh, this kid is on the bubble, so we can go from 0.25 points to 0.75 points. So things like that. So that's kind of how we are evaluating our success. This year, we also have a new platform called SCORE. where we can send electronic transcripts. But as I was playing with the tool, it also kicks out data in terms of how many students have applied, where they have applied, and kind of gives us data on that back end about, what things we can do to inform our work with our students. Next slide, please. So a few of our opportunities. So we have, as I said earlier, a lot of community support for our students. And so we definitely want to capitalize on that and build relationships and partnerships for our students for career pathways to ensure and secure internships, apprenticeships, and scholarship opportunities for our graduating seniors. We want to increase the number of college and university partners offering dual credits for our students and dual enrollment, and then also expand the number of immersive students experiences for our students in elementary and middle. Last year, we had a lot of our students do Missouri Connections, and in there, it's kind of a learning styles inventory. And I learned that a lot of our students are hands-on learners. So because of that, we need to definitely seek out those relationships with people who offer hands-on opportunities for them to retain information better and careers better. So we've already kind of started doing that with Careers on Wheels, as well as next week, we're going to Build My Future at St. Louis Community College, where they'll get to learn more about trades and things like that. And then I think also we had, as you heard at the last board meeting with Danforth, with that partnership with the Build program. And then finally, encouraging our scholars to take advantage of the various post-secondary assessments that are offered, and also to provide additional support to obtain those scores. So a lot of our students, were initially afraid to take the ACT, as we kind of asked them like, yeah, you really need to take this. Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to fail it, or I'm not going to do well. So seeking out resources, as well as offering the ACT prep program stuff. So sorry, ACT prep support. So Upward Bound and Harris-Stowe Talent Search, they offer ACT prep workshops on the weekends leading up to the ACT. And so having our students take advantage of those to increase their scores and their outcomes. This past summer, we had about 10 students take advantage of the UMSL bridge to the ACT. And a lot of them that took advantage of it saw an increase in their scores. So we were really proud to see that. Next slide, please. So we had a lot of celebrations, and it was kind of hard to narrow it down to 3. So last year, we concluded the year with $6.8 million in scholarships for the class of 2023. That number includes 2 full rides to Wash U, 1 full ride to Maryville, countless full tuition scholarships to Harris-Stowe, and then a lot of community scholarships. So I was really, really proud of the class of 2023 and the work that they put in. We also had 110 FAFSAs completed. That was an increase of 5% from the year before. This year, we also implemented our Summer Help Center, and that was launched to help our graduating seniors obtain assistance with post-secondary plans. And that was really to combat what's called the summer melt. Summer melt is where students who intend to go to college and enroll in the fall melt out because, maybe there was a step in the enrollment process that they didn't complete. So my job over the summer was I was calling them, texting them, emailing them to say, hey, what do you need in order to make sure that you're enrolled this fall? So that was really, really fun. And it was good to be able to kind of help those students who probably would have stopped out for whatever reason enroll this fall. We also increased the participation in community activities. So as I mentioned earlier, we had UMSL Bridge, the summer bridge program. They had 15 scholars. We had 10 who did bridge to the ACT, and then 5 who took advantage of their ACT, their summer right programs and the other programs that they offered. We had 4 students participate in SLIP, the St. Louis Internship Program, the Emerging Leaders Program at Mizzou that was extended to us by Representative Marlene Terry. We had 5 students participate in that. We had 1 student attend Boys State, and then the Wash U Science Program, we had 12 students participate. So again, increased participation amongst our scholars. We also had increased the number of students going on spring break college tours. So last year, we had 15 scholars attend 10 HBCUs last spring, and they were really excited. And they're asking, can we go back? Can we do it? And I'm like, I have to spread the wealth to other students. And then also we increased our parent communication and engagement on post-secondary opportunities. And then finally, there's just a direct liaison for all things college and career. So the governor's focus a lot is on college and career readiness, specifically the career pieces. And so with that, there has been a lot of funding opportunities and community opportunities that have been extended to this district. And so it's good to just have one person who can be able to navigate it all and has access to that data to connect students to all of those different opportunities. Next slide, please. And so with that, I'll open it up to any questions, comments.
Yeah, my question is about early college program. Are we
Mhm.
going to have that where the students can get their associates, or that's something that we're considering at some point?
We do. This board voted on it in August, and we currently have 7 scholars at St. Louis Community College. And I have a wait list for next year of 10 students, like current sophomores who are already attending.
Okay, what have been some of the barriers to why we can't get all the kids to do a post-secondary assessment? Is it just their attendance, or?
No, so during the pandemic, a lot of colleges went test optional. So they didn't necessarily require that a student have an ACT score on file. And even at the community college level, they even shifted to multiple measures, meaning that they looked at things like GPA and also specific grades and specific coursework like biology or math to determine placement. So there wasn't really a need, especially because the average GPA of our classes was about 2.5. So you could still get into a pretty good school with a 2.5 GPA. So with all those factors, on top of the fact that we don't have a policy that requires students to do it, that was kind of the reduction of students taking a post-secondary assessment.
Okay, but the goal is to increase that though.
Yes, so right now we're currently pushing into the classrooms, and I have put all the students on notice that on October 17th, we are offering the in-school ACT, and you are required to take it, otherwise you will not graduate. Now, is that a policy that I can really hold them to? No, but as far as they know, as far as they know, they will not be walking across the stage.
Right. Okay, good.
Now, I'm looking at y'all, don't tell them.
They might be watching.
Look,
the board
don't
meeting.
tell them. Listen, are they, I mean, you know, hopefully they're not watching today of all the nights, you know, it's like.
I have a couple of questions,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am. Number one, the ACT prep courses, classes that are offered at Harris Stowe and whatever, are those free?
Yes, so they are free for those who are a part of the Harris Stowe Educational Talent Search programs. I am looking in.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so they're free with.
If you're a part of their,
Additional.
no. If you're a part of their program, so they have, so Upper Bound has 60 students, Harris Stowe Talent Search serves like 300 kids. And so as long as you're, like you've turned in the paperwork saying, hey, I want to be an educational talent search student, you can do their ACT prep program.
So yes and no.
So if you're not a part of the educational talent search program, they're just going to tell you to turn in the form so you can do the
Okay,
ACT
it's
prep.
it's just
So
a
it's free.
formality.
Yes, you need,
Okay.
because they get federal dollars, because those are TRIO programs. So they get federal funds to support students from disadvantaged, underrepresented backgrounds to access higher education.
So the first SAT, ACT scores, the district or federal government pays for, right?
Correct. Well, they get 4 fee waivers to use. Fee waivers, so that means they don't have to pay.
And how
And-
many of those they get?
4,
4 of them.
they get 4. And
So that
if
means
you
they
use a
can
fee
take 'em
waiver
4 times?
for free,
Okay.
and when you use a fee waiver, you get access also to ACT prep as well. Like, because it's an online platform that's connected to your fee waiver.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's information then that I was told that was kind of like maybe no, because I having a conversation with someone else in another school district,
Mhm.
and they were saying that their students can take the ACT however many times they want to take it.
So
And-
students can take the ACT as many times as they want to, but in terms of getting a fee waiver, they can only take 4, like they can only get 4 free fee waivers. After 4, after they use that, they have to pay.
Okay.
But we cover like the in-school test on October 17th. The district is paying for that. So technically the student can take the ACT for 5 times for free.
I think that's pretty
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next question I have back on your the slide about trades and apprenticeship.
Mhm.
And I remember you said something about, I wrote St. Louis Community College,
Mhm.
but that's not the only source you use for trades and apprenticeships.
Correct. So tomorrow I'm actually going to Rankin for my first college tour. And Rankin also has partnerships and abilities for students to take advantage of apprenticeships as well. And we also have North County Technical. They also have the opportunities for students to take advantage of apprenticeships as well.
So here's why I asked that question.
Mhm.
One of my neighbors is a superintendent at a very well-known construction company here,
Mhm.
okay? And they are mandated, they need to get some diversity
Mhm.
in their staff.
Absolutely.
And I've been hearing this story for months now. When they approach some of our schools, that they're not, it's a maze to get into their apprenticeship cooperation. And when they do, because our students know that they have a problem also with passing drug test. Okay?
Yeah.
Because cannabis is legal
Mhm.
and they don't seem to understand that, yes, but you can't work 30 feet in the air and with the power tool in your hand, okay? So he's asked me, what kind of information do we share with our students who, knowing that portion of adulthood and not truly understanding the responsibility portion of adulthood, and you can't do all of that at the same time? How do
So
you address that?
yeah, so I go into the classrooms and I kind of talk to them about how do you get here, right? So if you're thinking career, these are the things that you need to do. Number one, you need a driver's license because most of those employers, especially those for trades, they require that you need to have a driver's license. The second thing is I do talk to students about just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's right. Because to your point, we have the Boeing program that has high school students after that if you do their 6-week program, you have a potential to get a federal job, but you have to pass the drug test. It's not just this industry or another industry. These are parts of being an adult. Just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's right and doesn't mean that an employer has to. So those are conversations that we have with students. And if they feel like there's a problem, we have resources in the counseling suite that we can direct students to if they want to get help with those issues or vices.
So you do address it?
Yes, and also we are welcome to trades because if we look at our data, a lot of our students do go to the world of work. And so the world of work is various pathways. So during the summer, I actually had the opportunity to check in with one of our scholars who's currently building a house, like not his own house, but he works from going to North Tech. He got into an apprenticeship where he's helping build houses right now. And so it was really, he sent me the video. I can send it to the board if necessary. And it's really cool. To that though, also with the apprenticeships, we have to be mindful that a lot of them do value a lot of experience. And a lot of our students, quite frankly, they're not really exposed to different sorts of tools, for example, power tools, a saw, so we have to also collaborate with families and also collaborate with institutions like the community college, also like Rankin, to get our students that exposure before they kind of go off to a trade as well. And I think that your colleague would say that a lot of our students are not exposed to those
A
pieces.
neighbor.
Your neighbor. Well, he,
Thank you.
yeah,
You're off high school.
it is.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It's in the high school, but I do go to other school, like the elementary and middle schools when necessary, but it's in the high school.
There are no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the September travel report. This is in compliance with CSIP student performance. Making this presentation is Dr. Tiffany Patton, Director of Professional Development Coordinator. It's also in compliance with policy DLCA, travel expense, and policy GCL. Dr. Patton.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues and community members. I have presented for you the September travel report in its entirety, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time. Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes all of our information items. We now move to discussion. Item A is the superintendent search that was presented at the last board meeting.
So superintendents are managers who oversee the day-to-day operations of a school district. They are also leaders who aspire to improve student achievement. Furthermore, superintendents are advocates, confidants, and experts in whatever role their district and students need them to fulfill. In addition, superintendents identify staffing needs, policies, develop policies, provide leadership. Choosing a superintendent is one of the most important responsibilities faced by the board. I just want to repeat that Superintendent Joy Lynn Pruitt Adams has made it known she intends to retire in June of 2024, which is the end of her contract. The Special Administrative Board will need to discuss in the 2024-2025 superintendent search process this fall and determine the appropriate timeline and decide on the method of selecting a superintendent. There were two options that were discussed at the last board meeting, and then I'll tell you those two, and then I'll tell you why there is a third option that we have listed. The first option was to request a proposal, RFP, to obtain the services to guide selection process, or we could go number two, to engage the services of Missouri School Board Association. And then during that discussion, several board members asked, have we considered the possibility of hiring an interim superintendent to serve for 1 year? With that,
This item was only here for discussion. And because it was at the last board meeting, it is also under the action section of the agenda.
Madam President, I would like to entertain under action that we make a motion to move for consideration the hiring of an internal interim superintendent for 1 year.
for a second,
Second.
is there any other questions? Any
This is not
discussion?
the section where
Well,
you're
well,
discussing it now. Okay.
Right.
So,
That's
so
what
we're
makes
making a
sure.
motion,
We're
so
making
then
a-
that's gonna be the
There you go.
specific one that we vote on under
Right.
action. If there's
I'm sorry, that's what I should have stated. That's what we're doing. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
The next item for discussion is the policy recommendations. Making this presentation is our own Jennifer Williams from the Human Resources Department. I am going to notify the board that this is her first opportunity to present for our board. We got your back.
Okay.
This is, This item is in compliance with Board Policy CH, Policy Implementation and Dissemination.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. JPA, community and colleagues. Tonight, I will ask that for discussion and approval. Thank you. Policy JG, student discipline. This policy is being slightly revised at the suggestion of the RGSD Council to address the McKinney-Vento lawsuit consent decree. The revised language is located in the section under equity. It reads, in determining what disciplinary action to take, administrators will consider factors including homelessness, trauma, lack of transportation, mobility, mental health and mental health support, and academic support. It is recommended that the RGSD accept the additions as suggested. I have 5 policies that are being discussed: IND, IKE, GBAA, GCBA, and CFB. IND is ceremonies and observances. This policy describes how the district must facilitate programs, ceremonies, and observances according to state law. The MSBA has recommended 3 updates. One of the updates is 2014 C update. This reflects the changes in Senate Bill 600 related to Veterans Day, stating that the school district will conduct educational programs and activities and devote at least 1 class period leading up to a Veterans Day observance to convey the meaning and significance of Veterans Day. 2016 D update reflects altering state law in Senate Bill 638 regarding reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. It requires the school district to ensure the Pledge of Allegiance is recited at least once daily instead of once a week. 2023 B update reflects compliance with Senate Bill 681, 2022 regarding the remembrance of the Holocaust. It requires that the school district designate the 2nd week of April as Holocaust Education Week. Policy IKE, promotion, acceleration, and retention of students. This policy is modified to align with Senate Bill 681. The school district must ensure that all students develop appropriate reading skills. Therefore, modifications were made in the area of remediation, implementation of the reading success plan, assessing reading skills for students in grades K through 3rd, sending annual notification to parents regarding reading deficiencies. It is recommended for this policy to ensure that required processes and or strategies are implemented in the district to support students and provide remediation. It is recommended that the district adopt the MSBA recommendations for policy IKE as written. Policy GBAA is staff extra duty assignments. This policy is actually replacing policy GCKA. This policy, the language has changed to state that all staff members are expected to perform reasonable duties over and above their regular responsibilities. The new policy GBAA overall expands policy GCKA to provide all staff members with the opportunity to be assigned extra duty, either as part of their regular job duties or as a compensated extra duty. It is recommended that the district adopts the new policy GBAA and rescind policy GCKA. Policy GCBA is professional staff compensation. It was originally adopted in 2010, reviewed in 2021, but in 2018, the district requested some changes that were still pending. Additional language was added in section 5 that stated compensated extra duty work had to be board approved prior to an employee performing the work. Otherwise, failure to do so would cause the employee not to be compensated. Hence, the extra duty assignment will fall under extra duty as assigned. It is recommended that the additional language be added to the policy and approved as presented by the MSBA. The last policy is policy CFB, evaluation of principals. It was originally adopted in 2015. The focus of this policy is on the annual performance evaluation of principals using an evaluation instrument incorporating the central principles of effective evaluation as adopted by the Missouri State Board of Education. The MSBA has recommended that the language be changed to include an evaluation process. It is recommended that the district accept the revisions to this policy as recommended by the MSBA. Does anyone have questions?
Yes. My question or yes, recommendation on, extra duty
Mhm.
or the staff compensation, let me look. That we consider a ratification option, meaning that if the superintendent had assigned or approved for somebody to do extra service duty before we approved it, that there be ability to ratify and still vote for that person to be paid, if that makes sense. So I would recommend the addition of a ratification with the approval of the superintendent's recommendation to the board.
That one was yeah, that one was a little confusing to me as well. Number
Okay.
one, I'm trying to understand, but if a person does the work, can we legally not pay them for doing their work?
They saying if it's not approved, so you just do it on your own and there's no prior approval, and I don't know what situation it would be where a prior approval wouldn't take place. But if you initiated, let me help them at the security and check bags. Nobody asked you to do it, you just lend it yourself, then you shouldn't be able to say, well, I want extra duty pay because you was never approved to do it.
Oh, so you pretty was just volunteering.
It's
And
volunteer.
then you say, but
I
I
want
did
extra
this and
service
I
pay.
want you to pay me. Is that what that means?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And
Is
then
that-
it also makes sure that people that are going to approve people to do extra duty, make sure that they get it approved first. Not come back to the board and say, well, I forgot to get this approved. Because then you'll probably have a problem with that employee.
I'm sorry.
So wouldn't that be that employee who's doing the overtime or what have you? Wouldn't that be his supervisory responsibility?
Yes, overtime should be approved as well, but this is extra duty, so extra duty should be approved if you want to be compensated. Otherwise, like she stated, it will be like you're volunteering your time. You're stepping in to assist in an area, but then later you come back and say, I want to be compensated.
It's similar to like we bought the extra duty stipends forward. And so I decide I'm gonna start a chess club. And I just do it on my own and I pull kids together. And then I come back and say, well, Dr. May got paid to have her chess club. I now want to get paid to have mine. It wasn't approved.
And my other question, I looked for the policies you were reading.
Mhm.
I never found them on here. Are they included?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I clicked on both of them and I keep getting the discipline one. That's all.
If you click on the second one, which has all of the policies, the best way to do it is you should see a tab. You go all the way down to that last tab, which has the summary. See it?
Now I do.
Then that tells you everything that she just reported on.
Just did not do it first because I tried to do it on my own. I thought it was
Okay.
But my other question is regarding one of those policies that you were reading about. So the mandate to say the Pledge of Allegiance, was that a policy?
Yes, ma'am.
It's also a state statute, I believe, that you're supposed to do it. Can't make students do it, but you're supposed to do it in the building. Yes, in schools, you're supposed to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And if a student chooses not to, they have a right not to. You're supposed to provide that opportunity. And it can be done over the PA system, so you're not asking individual students in the classroom to do it.
You're welcome.
In fact, a lot of boards do the Pledge of Allegiance before they start. And it's on our agenda, we just didn't.
Any other questions?
So I have a question, I don't know directly related. I noticed with the policy for ceremonial things that there's a Holocaust Education Week that needs to be observed. And so I'm wondering with respect to African American, there's comparable, as in Black History Month relative middle passage and other things that relate to our culture more. Holocaust, which I've been to the Holocaust Museum, very moving and so forth. So I support that. But I'm just wondering about equivalency, like to relevant for us.
I asked Ms. Ross to come up because I'm sure she has the knowledge base on that.
So technically speaking, there is no equivalency. It is legislated, by the state that we honor Holocaust and make it available to our students a particular curriculum for Holocaust. This is a recent legislation, and the work behind this legislation is actually occurring now. Yes, there similar concerns have been addressed. And it's a very sensitive topic. I mean, have my own personal opinions. But nonetheless, we have to honor what the state legislation calls for. And before the curriculum is approved, which will be given to us literally by the state, we start off with the observance the second week of April.
So does this prohibit us from starting with curriculum for our district,
So,
African American focused educational?
so there is some language that should not be outright and out forth in our curriculum as it relates to African American history. Yes.
That's
And we have been, what's the word? They have checked our record books. What's the word?
Audit?
on it. But you mean
Well,
about critical
sanctioned
race
on it.
theory?
Mm-mm.
Talking about the critical race theory piece?
Yes.
Yes. So there's, as you know,
Sunshine
there's a
Law.
lot, right? There's sunshine law.
Sunshine Law. We've been through, actually, we've been through it twice. So our documents were, yes.
There's a lot of controversy. It was really prevalent last year, and the years before about critical race being taught in school. And there's still some back and forth about that. But she is absolutely correct. We get a sunshine request to see what we are teaching, when we're teaching, how we are teaching.
Yeah, so there are specific terms, specific language that should not directly be in our curriculum.
Give me an example.
You can't, the fear, I'll say the fear. The misconception, first of all, is critical race theory is not taught in a school setting. It's more of a college course. But there are those people out there who believe that if we teach critical race theory, if we teach Black history, if we teach African American history, whatever you want to call it, that we will be making individuals who don't look like me feel inferior, not superior, and that we will be belittling them. This is the language of the parents who are against it, that we will be making their children feel incompetent and that they are less than, and subject them to bullying if schools teach, my language, true American or African American history. But that's the notion out there. There's been a lot of controversy. It's been in the media. It's been discussed in the legislative forums. even prior to the charter school push, there were people going up to Jeff City to have these conversations.
I understand that, Superintendent, but, and you know, if you're listening to the news, you hear that. But this now is policy that we as
The
the
Holocaust,
board
yes.
is tasked to accept or reject.
No,
No.
reject.
Okay, so then what, then, okay, if there's no option and no choice that we have as the board, then what's the point of voting for it?
Because we have to bring policy. The board approves policy, administration approves procedure. So even if it's a policy that comes down from MSBA through sanctions, through statutes, it is the board's obligation under governance to approve those policies. Now, you do have, in some cases, the opportunity to tweak and make them uniquely Riverview Gardens. But when it is a legislative mandate, you need to approve that policy. If you don't approve it, we have to implement it, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yes, I understand the idea of implementing the mandates. I guess my question has to deal with us supplementing that educational focus that recognizes that are in this.
There are,
Go back to my equivalency.
right, a lot of school districts teach a course in African-American history, African-American literature, but there is no state or legislative mandate that we have.
Right, but we're not prohibited from.
We are not prohibited if we don't cross too many lines as to how that correct. So if we teach it, there's the potential that there may be someone who doesn't even have a student who attends Riverview Gardens School District to do a sunshine request and say that we are teaching something that they link or they believe is tied to critical race theory, whether it is or not. So we teach it, but we're always subject to questioning
Scrutiny.
or litigation about it. That makes sense?
Sure.
And our schools do all celebrate February is African American History Month. They do programs. They still do all of that. But what we were saying today, there's no statute that says we have. No school districts.
And that's what I mean, that's what would make me, to the board member, have the understanding that that is being taught. Effective of the fact that it's not state policy.
And when Ms. Ross brings the course guides, she brings forward the curriculum offerings for each year. We'll see the courses listed.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Ms. Lane that when we attend the Region 7 meeting at Ladue, I would formally like to introduce you to the person that is on our executive committee that went and testified on behalf of school districts about that. So you do have people that board members that go and address the legislation. And then you have MSB has a phenomenal advocacy group that really tries to fight on our behalf. So what this may tell us to do is to those people that want to get political on, right? Some people got to go. And then I want to apologize because I know that it is important to cite the Pledge of Allegiance. And I want to apologize to this board and previous boards that this is the reason why you don't see me say, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I apologize because I should not allow my personal feelings to not allow us to say the Pledge of Allegiance. But I have to be transparent and upfront with you all. That's why I've never done it. I will begin to do it since it has been. I want to set a good example for us. I want to set a good example for our students. If our students have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, then at our board meetings, I will, since we do have it listed, I will have us do the Pledge of Allegiance. But I wanted to publicly apologize that it was my own selfish, whatever, because of this, not to have it recited, and that was wrong on me, and I apologize.
I do want to say it's more real, and And it's not on this open agenda, but it was on the tax rate hearing.
Well,
Supposed to say it, so. Get a good example for our students. Okay.
Thank you.
You all.
Our next item is the Central Services Organizational Chart Update for 23-24. This is in compliance with all of our CSIP goals, attendance, staffing, workforce, collaborative cultures, and student performance. As you know, the board recently approved the addition of the position to Executive Cabinet of the Executive Director of Facilities and Food Service. This organizational chart is being brought forth just to have that added in. Are there any questions?
no,
The next item is the renewal of the MoreNet Digital Library. Coming back to join us, Ms. Tanya Ross, ELA Coordinator. This is in compliance with CSIP student performance and in compliance with policy IIA instructional materials. Ms. Ross?
Good evening again, Special Administrative Board, Dr. JPA, colleagues and community. Tonight, I'm offering up for discussion the MoreNet Digital Library. It is a digital app platform that gives our scholars the opportunity to have a 24/7 access to digital materials. Those digital materials include not just digital books, ebooks, but it also includes audiobooks, videos, and not just for our scholars, but also for our teachers. What's also available for our teachers are curriculum guides and professional development resources. The digital library also uses the same platform that St. Louis County Library uses, which is Overdrive. And so it gives our students the opportunity not only have the digital library from MoreNet, which comes out through the Sora app. It also combines the St. Louis County Library's digital resources. So you're looking at over 30,000+ of books that are accessible to our students 24/7. It meets the academic and the interests of our students. And they can access this digital platform anywhere through any digital device. It is budgeted not to exceed the cost of $5,000 from our title funds. So it is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the MoreNet Digital Library in the amount not to exceed $5,000. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the food service employee sick leave payout. Making this presentation is Dr. Levon Singleton, Chief Financial Officer. This is in compliance with policy GDBDA.
Right.
Support staff leave was used as the reference. And it's also in compliance with CSIP goals, staffing and workforce. Dr. Singleton?
All right, good evening, Special Administrative Board again. This particular agenda item, we had some discussions regarding the food service employees who are no longer Riverview Garden employees. If you guys recall, this school year, we outsourced food service to SFE. They hired our cooks and hired the assistant managers. Those employees still had time on the books, if you will, sick time that was remaining. And during this transition meeting, during some of those meetings, they were asked if they could possibly be paid for those days, since they were faithful to the district and did not utilize those days. At the request of the board, or at least at the permission of the school board, we went forward and did some research. And we really didn't have a policy that covered sick leave payout for this kind of separation. So we saw a similar policy, as Dr. Pruitt-Adams mentioned, GDBDA, support staff leave. And we really tried to use this policy as guidance for this particular situation. So the recommendation tonight is for, based on the guidance from the SAB, the research that was conducted and this policy, we are making a recommendation that we suspend the leave portion of the policy that refers to employees in full-time positions. Can you go up a little bit, Matt, with the mouse? Right. And upon retirement from the school district, again, this is not a retirement, but this is the closest policy that mimics a retirement. And so what we're asking for those individuals, as we would do a retirement, if you have 1 to 20 days of time left, we pay you at 50% of those days. If you have 21 to 40 days, you get paid at 75% of those days. And at 41 to 60, you do get paid at 100% of those days or that daily substitute rate. Again, these employees were involuntarily separated from the district. It was not their choice, but by way of the outsourcing and the fact that they had time left with the district, we thought that this would be a noble effort. So that concludes that presentation. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time?
Dr. May has a question. May.
So the breakdown, have that been discussed with them, the percentage that they will get, and what's the response?
So we have not, we have had interim conversations, but it is time to bring the group back. At this point, they know that I'm going to the board and they know that we're, asking the board to honor the information. And so I think the next step is to go back and let them know, what the outcome is.
Okay, so there'll be another conversation before we do a final vote, and then,
No, we're asking you to approve the payouts now, so that we can go back and let them know that it aligns to the policy.
okay, so they won't know that they not getting a 100% until we do this. That's what I'm checking.
Yeah, well, we've had some conversations
Oh,
with some of them, a number of them. Have we discussed this in an open forum? No.
And we probably should not have until the board approved it, because you don't want to get, the board could say to us, we're not doing anything. And if we had gotten their hopes up for that and then come back and say nothing, they do know, however, that we are talking to the board. And then once the board approved it, and as you know, the board can change this and say it's 100% to everybody. That's your call. But once you make that decision, then we can go back and meet with them.
okay, so that leads to additional question. Do we have in a budget to go with the full 100% for everybody?
Yeah, I think the calculation of the full 100% was about $14,000, $14,850,
It's
$14,800.
$684.49. That's what I'm looking at on your sheet. The attached sheet. I'm not.
Your
looking at
attached sheet. Mhm.
Okay, I don't,
the attachment you had
okay.
said that the total, if we paid everyone out, that was due. It would be $14,684.49.
Exactly, yes.
Right, and
that's the
if
number
we
I have.
pay them based upon the alignment with that policy, it comes out to $7,342.25.
Yes, so to answer your question, I think if we find the 7,000, I think we can find an additional 7,000.
Okay. That's my recommendation.
Additional question.
Vote on something like this previously.
Well, we discussed this in closed session, but this is the actual payout and all of that should be an open session item.
Dang. We have it under, I don't see it, it's under action. What is it under?
It's not,
Just
it's just
discussion.
discussion and then action at
Then
the
you come
next
back.
board meeting.
Oh, that's what I was asking.
Yes,
Okay, I thought you said it was for action tonight. Madam President, I would like to make a motion that the consent or the item for action for next week be for payment of 100% to all of the separated food service workers.
There a second to that motion?
I second it.
Second.
Got 2 seconds. All, all in favor?
Aye.
No.
No, there,
No, she's
so when
saying,
it comes back,
That
it's
is
at
gonna
the
be
100%.
100%, not the breakdown.
I asked, all in favor. On the-
Aye.
Aye.
You want to do a roll call?
No.
Okay. You heard everybody?
I heard everybody.
All right.
So just for guidance, should I have that conversation or wait until the next meeting where it's fully approved?
I would still suggest that you wait until it is approved
Fully
by the
approved.
board.
Understood. Thank you.
And you can tell them it's coming. It's up
Okay.
for approval, but I would wait until it's open.
Okay.
So the next item, summary of fund balance, also presented by Dr. Singleton. This is in compliance with policy DIAA fund balance, and it is in compliance with all 4 of the CSIP goal section.
All right. Good evening again. I'll try to be very quickly with the summary of fund balance report. As you all know, this is a monthly report that comes before the board. We look at where we are on a monthly basis. We are 2 months into the new fiscal year, July and August. And so what we do is on this page here, on the second page, we look at where we ended the fiscal year last year, which is our new beginning balance. So we've got roughly $33 million we started the year with. So far, we've collected about $8 million in that second column. We've spent about $12 million. And right now we're looking at about $29.6 million. One of the things that we should notice is that certainly during those summer months into the fall, the district is operating off of state aid monies mostly, okay? We all know that our tax bills are due in December, and so we'll start to see that $19 million we talked about earlier at the tax rate hearing. We'll start to see those monies come in generally in that December and January timeframes. And so that's why we see the revenues are less than the expenditures at this point. And we'll probably see this scenario for the next several months. Going into the next page, again, the grant expenditures. We look at our grants. We know this is the final year of ESSER. So we won't be coming before you many more months talking about this. And I will give an update on the 2 ESSER programs. We've got another week left into this fiscal year, or at least until ESSER 2 ends. And so we'll be bringing to the board how we spent those ESSER 1 and 2 monies, because our last bucket of money, ESSER 3, is our real focus right about now. So anyway, the expenditures we see here of about $4 million or $3.9 million. On the next page under grant revenues, again, we see our receipts right now, again, just these 2 months, roughly about $615,000. Again, revenues are pretty slow. And we're really operating off of state aid monies during those fall months. On the next page, the revenues, again, we break it out by fund. So we've got your general fund, teachers fund, debt services, capital projects. That information totals about $8.3 million that you see at the bottom of that page. The next page looks at the expenditures. And again, that's that $12 million breakdown that's summarized for you on the very front page. The last 2 pages really look at where we have been year over year. So as of August the 31st in 21, 22, and 23. And as you can see, obviously, we've seen some small numbers. We've seen some significant increase in numbers. And then we see some real steady numbers. And so $7 million total at the very bottom of the revenue side in 21. Then we almost doubled to 13 million. And right now in 23, we're looking at about 8.3 million. Again, that's the magical number on the front page. 21, 22, and 23 on the expense side, 7.7 million in 21, 9 million this time last year in 22. And certainly in 23, we spent about $12 million. That concludes the summary of fund balance report for the 2 months ended August 31st. Are there any questions you have for me at this time? Thank you.
Our next item is the Special School District Partnership Agreement. Making this presentation is Dr. Chad Lent, who is our Director for Special Education to Riverview Gardens School District, and Dr. Tanya Patton, Assistant Superintendent, Student Support Service.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Jordan.
To your mic.
Good evening. I'm here to, with Dr. Patton to present the partnership agreement, and actually, more importantly, just to talk a little bit about our roles as partners, Special School District and Riverview Gardens. Just to give you a little bit of background, there is the federal regulations that kind of guide us as far as how we provide special education and provide those services. That's the Federal Act of IDEA. And the Missouri State Plan is basically Missouri's document that says, here's how we will implement IDEA in the state of Missouri. There is something a little bit unique in the Missouri State Plan, and that is the Regulation 15, which actually talks a little bit about the establishment and the use of special school districts. So we are not the only special school district in the state of Missouri. There's actually a couple of us. Obviously, we're the largest one, and obviously the one here in St. Louis County. But so with the Missouri State Plan, there's also what is called the Local Compliance Plan. And that's just kind of an abbreviated version of the state plan, which is 168 pages, and the local compliance is only 118. So it's not really that abbreviated, but it is abbreviated allegedly. So, and then basically the local compliance plan, we also have the general assurance document. And the general assurance document is the agreements that we would have between the two districts to provide special ed services, make sure we're doing child find, making sure that we're providing procedural safeguards and things like that. So this is a little bit of an infographic and kind of how that works. We have the federal, the state, the local, and then the general assurance documents. And one of the things you may be asking is, okay, there's probably some things going on with the partnership between the two districts that is not really covered in the general assurance document. And that's where the partnership agreement kind of comes into play. So the partnership agreement is really just to help us work through as districts to kind of increase our knowledge and awareness of overall expectations, just to be more inclusive, collaborative. It gives us a tool to really have those conversations. If you don't have the tool to necessarily have those conversations, you may not actually sit down and have those conversations. And so the partnership agreement actually covers 7 different areas: staffing, teaching, learning, accountability, collaboration, student services, data technology, transportation. So you can see how some of those things like data and technology wouldn't necessarily be in a general assurance document, but it's something that we definitely want to work towards and make sure that we're having good conversations around. There is an assessment component to this. Dr. Patton and I sit down twice a year. We go through the whole partnership agreement. We look at how we're doing on all those different indicators, and we come up with action steps based on those, and we identify the things that we're going to work. Yes.
You went through those fast. So Riverview Gardens and SSD, we agreed to a couple of things. So we agreed to endorse the mission and vision and belief statement outlined in this agreement. We support collaborative responsibility to make sure that we are educating all of our students. We commit to working cooperatively to implement the principles of this agreement, which is focused on supporting all of our students. One thing that SSD does, that we have a disproportionality money, which is about $450,000 that they provide to us. And that money is used to support all of our students, not just as students who receive Riverview Garden students who receive special education services. Here, I'm controlling this. There we go. All right. So this partnership agreement has to be signed by our school superintendent, our school board president, as well as SSD's school board president and the superintendent of SSD. The action steps that Chad alluded to was teaching. Category 2 is teaching, learning, and accountability. This includes working together to improve our tiered intervention systems that we are developing. Recently, we hired a MTSS coordinator that will be leading the charge for this MTSS over academics as well as social emotional support that will be in line with MSIP 6. And I also have to say that SSD is also covering the cost of that MTSS person. Category 4 is student services. We talked about the MTSS coordinator. They will be working in alignment with the CNI department as well as the student services department to make sure that we have tiered interventions for students in tiers 1, 2, and 3 to give them extra support.
All right, also really quickly, beyond just the partnership agreement, we also have a tool called the Principal and Coordinator Collaboration Tool. The coordinators are the special ed coordinators at the school level, administrators for special school district. And that relationship between that principal and that coordinator are incredibly important to making sure things work well for our students. So there is a tool that's been developed, ideally, or essentially the purpose of this tool is really just to make sure that, again, we're having those structured conversations around a bunch of different areas like communication, accessibility, decision-making, and things like that. If you don't have the tool, are you actually sitting in down and having the conversations? Maybe, maybe not, but with the tool, you are making sure that those things are happening. And then, so again, the purpose is just to make sure that we are having that effective collaboration, making sure that we're sitting down, having time to talk about those things. And then there, of course, we have to have some kind of criteria or metrics to that. So there will be a metric component to that. And we'll be able to present that to the board in coming months. And so also, I think the really important piece is to also make sure that we're celebrating those successes because we do have a lot of successes out there. So beginning and end of the year, important dates. This first date is this one is just to make sure that we're talking about the partnership agreement, getting board approval for that. The general insurance document, which needs to be submitted by October 1st. And then basically before the end of the quarter, we will have our first cycle with the principal collaboration tool. Any questions?
Just for clarification, how does the funding work? So for our students, the funds go to special school districts and you pay for the teachers and supplemental material. How does that work?
Yeah, so there's different funding for sources. A special school district is actually a school district. So we actually pull from all of St. Louis County. We have our own tax base. We get state and federal money. Yeah, and then basically we hire all the staff, we pay for the staffing. And so just like any other school district, except for that, we're just a partner and we work together to do that.
Okay, and then for the supplemental materials that the special education teachers may need to support children, do you all also cover that?
Yeah, so for the supplemental stuff, yes, for sure. But we also have to make sure that we have a lot of teachers who are also teaching the general ed curriculum, right? So we also make sure that we have access to that. But any additional support programs, like, we have SIPs and different reading programs, math programs, we do pay for those. Yeah.
You have tax rate meetings?
Yeah, they do. And I believe it's part of the governing council where you guys
Yes.
talk about that. So, yeah. It's a little bit outside my lane, so I can't tell you a whole lot about it.
And also, I do want to mention that there's a budget for that of $726,000. And the $450,000 that I mentioned, that's money that the special school districts provide to us. That is not included in that $726,000 that's budgeted for those services.
The next item and the last item for,
Can I make a statement before she says that? To be transparent, I sit on the governing council. I'm the vice chair of the governing council. And so there's going to be some things that I'm going to be asking about principals before I sign the agreement. Just going to be frank about that.
Okay.
Philip will be joining.
Thank you.
The next item is the contract agreement for student support services with Sultan Mohammed Self-Love Program in compliance with CSIP's Collaborative Climate and Culture and Policy not applicable. Dr. Patton?
Good evening, again, SAB members, Dr. Jorlin, colleagues, and community. As Dr. Jorlin said, tonight I bring before you a contract agreement to support our students using the Self-Love Program. As we are actively seeking partnerships to support our students for social emotional support, we have entered into a possible partnership with the Self-Love Program, Sultan Mohammed. To that end, I'm asking for approval of this agreement. The Self-Love Program covers about four areas of four phases, so to speak: self-awareness, self-forgiveness, improving attitudes, and then loving ourselves. Certain particular students that are struggling at our high school are teamed with Sultan Mohammed, and he really works very hard with these students to improve their academic outcomes, to keep them in school so that they are not suspended, and to keep them educated so that they can graduate on time. With that being said, it is recommended that the SAB approve this contract with Sultan Mohammed for his self-love program not to exceed $40,000. Are there any questions?
I see that they do have the measurable outcome. So at the end of the program, is that normally presented? Or do you just look at it, or will it be shared with the board?
No, Dr. Jolene has required us to present the outcomes of every agreement that we entered into. So we will be comparing, he was with us last year.
Okay.
And so we'll be looking at this particular group of students that he worked with to measure their outcomes in comparison to the previous year. And that'll be presented to the board.
Okay.
Also, my understanding that at the incident on the 12th, none of the students that are in his group participated in it.
Mhm. Yep. Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes all the items for discussion.
Thank you. We will now move to approval of the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda item.
So move.
It's been moved by Dr. Avant Elliott to the consent agenda items. May I have a second? Second, that we have approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now go to items for action. First is the superintendent search. You're approving recommendation, the motion made by Dr. Avant Elliott. Have a do I need to take another motion since she motioned that? Yes, okay.
Could you repeat your motion?
Let's repeat your.
Yes, the motion is to, I move that the board, yes, I'm trying to state it correctly. I move for the board to, identify an internal interim candidate for superintendent.
Have a second.
Second.
And motion by Dr. Avant Elliott and second by Ms. That we approve internal candidate for interim service.
For the 24-25 school year.
Powerful, isn't it?
Yes.
Second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We will now move to policy recommendations. That was the policy regarding the
Student discipline.
I'm sorry,
Student discipline.
it's student discipline. I have a motion.
I move to accept the policy JG student discipline for approval.
Have a second.
Second.
Been motioned by Dr. Von Elliott and second by Ms. Tisworth that we accept a policy JG. Is there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, the last item here is Central Service Organization Update for the 2023-2024 school year. May I have a motion that we accept updated, increased organizational update for 2023-2024?
So move.
Moved by Dr. Avant Elliott. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jacqueline Jackson. Is there any discussion? Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, I don't mean to say it like that. We are now at adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting at 9:13 PM.
I have a second.
Second.
Been moved by Dr. Yvonne Elliott and second by Ms. Wanda Lang that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor?